Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Mr. Udi Samanhudi, as the lecturer of the academic speaking subject, and my friends whom I love. On this occasion, we, as the Group 2, will bring a discussion about students' public speaking problems. But before we get started, let me introduce our group members. There are myself, Salzha Terenovix, Salma Syadilla, Muhammad Bayu Permana, Elda Nabila, and Rizky Budiansyah. If you have been asked to do public speaking, you may wonder what public speaking is and why is it important. Those questions are quite logical if you have never thought much about public speaking before. Well, we will answer those questions for you in this discussion, but what should be underlined is we will take more focus on what are the problems that students face in public speaking. First of all, we have to know what public speaking is. Public speaking is a soft skill that requires excellent communication skills, enthusiasm, and the ability to engage with an audience. It is also one of the most important forms of communication. Communication is the backbone of our society. It allows us to form connections, make decisions, and even motivate change. Without communication skills, the ability to progress in the working world would be nearly impossible. So why is it important? Over the years, public speaking in communication has played a major role in education, government, business, and entertainment. Words have the power to inform, persuade, educate, and even entertain people. The spoken word can be even more powerful than the written one in the hands of the right speaker. So you will get benefits from improving your public speaking skills. Those benefits include: the first is improving your confidence. By doing public speaking frequently, you will get used to speaking in front of mass people or in front of public. It will certainly increase your confidence. The second is demonstrating your knowledge. Through public speaking, you can convey what you know about something to the audience. The third is developing your writing skills. When you have to give a speech, you will make an outline and a draft about the idea that you want to deliver. It will help you to develop good writing skills. The fourth is improving your communication skills. When you write a speech, you have to think carefully about the best organizational framework, persuasive strategy, and language to effectively express your message to the audience. It can help you improve your communication skills as well. The fifth is have better research skills. To give a good speech, you will need a draft that is relevant to the information that you are going to deliver. With speech drafting, you can improve your research skills. And the last is creating critical thinking skills. The process of writing a speech will exercise and strengthen your critical thinking skills, from the research to the actual speech drafting. So now, let me ask you, if you are taking a class where the teacher doesn't deliver a clear and detailed information, will you catch the learning material? Or if you are at an event where the host is unable to interact with the audience, will you feel entertained? And maybe if you heard a speech where the speaker seemed uncomfortable and unconfident, will you listen to the speech until the end? I am afraid the answer to those questions is a no. But it is a no, right? So that's why a public speaker must really understand the concepts of public speaking. In Indonesia, many foreigners from different countries come as tourists for a variety of purposes. It makes companies should employ people who are fluent in speaking English. To overcome this challenge, an extra lesson to improve speaking skills, which is called public speaking lesson, has been administered by some schools and institutions. However, English public speaking seems more complex than the students expected. Maybe it is because English is not their first language. Husnawati conducted a research that investigating the challenging factors that affect students' English-speaking performance and also the problems encountered by students in speaking. The result of the study showed that the students' speaking performance was affected by various factors. These factors include internal and external ones. Moreover, a case study about speaking has been conducted by Anwar on the title The Problem Faced by Students of the English Department in Learning Speaking. There were about 30 students on English department who took as the sample for the study. The result was that he found some obstacles faced by students in speaking English, such as lack of grammar, pronunciation, vocabulary, and some internal factors such as the lack of confidence. So, from those studies, we can know a variety of students' public speaking problems. But what we will do is to take a deeper understanding of these three problems that students face in public speaking. The first is speaking linguistic problems, the second is speaking non-linguistic problems, and the third is speaking anxiety problems. Each of these problems will be explained by my friends, so the next discussion is about speaking linguistic problems, which will be explained by Salma Syadilla. So, Salma, the time is yours. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Tere. Speaking is one of the language major skills and it is regarded as the most demanded skill on learning a language. Speaking problems are some problems that make someone lacks of speaking ability. According to Doris and Jessica, language problems actually serve as one of the important reasons behind poor academic performance. These problems may become the obstacles for the students to enhance and improve their speaking ability. The reasons why the students are having problems in their speaking is that they are poor in grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciations, and those problems are belongs to linguistic problems. Linguistics is a scientific study of language such as the study of language structure or grammar, words, and phonology. According to Spolsky and Holt, generally linguistics comprises the detail of vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciations. Linguistics problems are those problems which make students' speaking ability become poor. There are some linguistics problems that affect someone in speaking. Richards claims there are some typical learner's problems in speaking. Those problems are first, lack of vocabulary needed to talk, second, poor in grammar, and the last one is poor in pronunciations. The first problem is vocabulary. Vocabulary is an individual word or a set of words which have specific meaning. Camille and Herbert state that generally vocabulary is the knowledge of meanings of words. The words come in at least two forms, oral and print. Oral vocabulary is the set of words for which we know the meanings when we speak or read orally, while print vocabulary consists of those words for which the meaning is known when we write or read silently. The problems of vocabularies occur when someone is lack of vocabulary needed to talk and does not know how to combine the vocabularies into a good sentence. Kant once again states that the numbers of students who learn English as a foreign language have difficulties to use words and expressions to speak. In addition, Doris and Jessica also state that in real communications, nobody paid much attention to the correct grammar expressions, but emphasized the content and how to reply. Students are clearly know what they are going to say in the source language, but when they have to switch the language itself into the target language, such as English, They often get confused to combine and use the proper vocabularies needed. And then the next one, there is grammar problem. Grammar is a study in which sentences are structured and formatted so that it may be considered a bit boring to study correct grammar since it really is worth the time and effort. If learners do not know the rules of grammar, they will never be able to communicate using English effectively. According to Salzha Terenovix, grammar becomes difficult because learners do not learn structures one in a time. Even the learners appear to have mastered a particular structures, it is not uncommon to find backsliding occurring with the introductions of new form to learners' interlanguage. For example, the learner who has mastered the third singular person marker on the present tense verb is likely to overgeneralize the rule and apply it to newly emerging modal verb, those producing errors such as "she can't speak English." These errors may appear when the students speak since they have not mastered the English grammar. And the last problems is pronunciations. English has become a language which connects people all over the world. The second or foreign language learners are also demanded to speak English naturally like native speakers. According to Hinkel, a second language learner needs to master the individual characteristic of the sound of a new language. Furthermore, it will be good for the students to be able to speak naturally like the native speaker itself. According to Burns, it is more important that the English speakers can achieve 1. Intelligibility. The speakers produces sounds patterns that are recognizable as English. Second is comprehensibility. The listeners is able to understand the meaning of what is said. And the last one is interpretability. The listeners is able to understand the purpose of what is said. For example, a speaker might say, "It's hot today," as "is hot day." This is unlikely to be intelligible because of inaccurate sounds, stress, and patterns. As a result, a listener would not find the speaker comprehensible because the meaning is not available. Clear communications is essential in communications. Pronunciations is as important as any other aspects of foreign language learning like syntax or vocabulary. Correct pronunciations is very necessary to develop speaking skill. Pronunciations also has close connections to the other fields such as listening and even grammar. Once a person can pronounce correctly the endings of the words, for example, he can at the same time give grammatical informations. And so the conclusions I can give you is in grammar aspect, students face several problems. They do have problems with their understanding in present tense, past tense, or future tense. They have problems in distinguishing part of speech and using the modal verbs. Other linguistic problems that is still becoming a huge problem towards students' speaking performance is the vocabulary problems. Those problems are they find difficulties to choose the appropriate vocabularies related to the context. They realize that they are lacking of English vocabularies. They often ask their classmates about the unfamiliar English words. They find difficulties to translate the words given spontaneously, and they also do not know the synonyms or antonym of the word that they usually use. Pronunciations aspect also has become students' speaking problems. Pronunciations problems that the students face are they often mispronounce the English words. Their native language really influences their English pronunciations. They have no motivations to pronounce English words like native speakers. They find difficulties to give a correct word stress towards the English words, and they find the difficulties to give a correct intonations towards the English words. Well, I think that's it from me. The next presenter is Elda Nabila.
Alright, thank you so much, Salma. And hello everyone, my name is Elda Nabila. So I'd like to explain the next factor, which is non-linguistic problems in public speaking, especially for the student. So generally, there are two kinds of difficulty encountered by students in learning speaking, which are linguistic and non-linguistic problem. So beside the linguistic problem, non-linguistic or psychological problem also take a big influence in the students' difficulties in public speaking. In relation to speaking problems, a study conducted by Maulana Daud and Heri in 2016 found that the students felt lack of confidence, feel anxious, shy, and lack of motivation when were asked to speak in front of their class. The problem is speaking are also faced by university students. Regarding to these matters, Ariansha in 2012 conducted a study at English Education of Shahwala University, which revealed that there were some problems faced by the students in learning speaking, such as afraid of making errors, being nervous to speak, being mocked by friends, and so forth. So, a person named Muir in 1996 mentioned four factors that make speaking difficult for second and uh, foreign language students. So the first one is inhibition. Mostly EFL learners feel inhibited by trying to speak trying speaking in foreign language, such as worry about making mistakes, fearful of losing face or criticism, or shy during the speech. And then the second one is nothing to say. So people cannot express their idea through speaking spontaneously. They often complain that they cannot think of anything or to say of or to do uh, the idea to be spoken appropriately. So the third one is low or uneven participation. So exposure can be defined as the situation caused by the tendency of some learners to dominate in the group during communication process. In a large group, there are few participants can speak if she or he wants to be heard. It means that each person only has a very little time to express their idea in front of the class, in front of the other, I mean. This problem will cause uneven participation situation to people who do not have a good ability of speaking. And then the fourth one is mother tongue use. People can express their idea and communicate well by using their mother tongue rather than the target language. However, mostly people are still not disciplined by using mother tongue during learning a foreign language. It will influence the learning target language process. And then Heri and Shah in 2012 also found that there were several problems related to non-linguistic problems, which are so the first one is not being confident to speak. So have people have high high self-esteem, which absolutely necessary when speaking in public. High confidence will allow you to master the stage and material you will convey. Not be the second one is not being used to talk in class. In classroom situations, sometimes students who have high ability to speak will dominate the conversation rather than the students with low ability in speaking. Thus, the student with low ability in speaking will not to be used to talk in class. And then the third one is afraid of making errors. Since EFL students are not the native speakers of English, they are mostly likely they are most likely accustomed to the fear of making mistakes when speaking English. The fear is actually a feeling when we want to say something when talking to other people, but we keep it instead because we are not sure whether it is right or not. So Taikin in 1995 in his study mentioned that 95% of students were afraid of making mistakes in class or not comfortable when they made a mistakes. And then the fourth one is afraid of being mocked. Students are afraid to speak English because they are afraid of making mistakes related to intonation, pronunciation, and grammar as the frequent errors in speaking. They believe that they will get a bad response from their fellow students, such as mocking if they make mistakes during speaking. Akbar in 2009 in his study showed that lack of practice in conversational interaction was the one of the causes of speaking problems. It means that he agreed that practice will make a good performance in speaking. Related to the cause of speaking problems that mentioned above, people's opinion Astuti 2007 also found in her study that some students face difficulty in speaking because of worrying about other responses in speaker's performance. She also added that this cause can be called as peer pressure as well. Another study conducted another study showed that the other problems are speaker uses little or no eye contact with the audience during the speech. Also, speaker use little or no facial expression to the audience in delivering the speech. And then the speaker use few or no gestures with the audience throughout the speech. To conclude, the researchers recommends some suggestions in overcoming non-linguistic problems in speaking English, which are directed to students. As English students, mastering speaking skills is close to the obligation. The students should practice to speak English regularly, not only inside but also outside the classroom. Practice speaking English in daily life individually or with some friends is a way to overcome the non-linguistic problems such as not confident or not accustomed to speak English, and furthermore, to improve pronunciation skill or to overcome feeling afraid of making errors, the student should watch more movies or videos in English and pay more attention to the word or sentences used by a lecturer when they are speaking in the class. So I think that is all from non-linguistic difficulties. Thank you so much for your attention. The next presenter is Rizky Budiansyah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for Elda Nabila, and I will bring the material about anxiety disorders. An anxiety disorder is a type of mental health condition. If you have an anxiety disorder, you might respond certain things and situations with fear and dread. And you might also experience cycle signs of anxiety, such as pounding heart and sweating. It's normal to have some of anxiety disorders. Sometimes we can feel like shy or nervous if we want to tackle a problem at work or take an interview, and maybe if we want to speak in front of many people. Anxiety can be even beneficial. The example is anxiety help me us notice dangerous situation and keep focus attention, and we stay alive, we stay safe. uh, and anxiety disorder usually more often happens in women, and the research are still studying why that can be happen. There are several types of anxiety disorders, including the first is GAD or GID, general anxiety disorders. The people who have this type might feel extreme and unrealistic worry and tension, even if there's nothing triggers to these feelings. The next is panic disorders. If we have panic disorders, we get intense, sudden panic attack. During a panic attack, we can feel sweating, heart palpitation, and chest pain. Panic disorders or panic attacks are upsetting, are very upsetting. The people who have this type or have this panic disorders or panic attack spend a lot of time worrying about the next panic attack, and they also try to avoid situations that might trigger an attack. The next is phobias. Phobias are an intense certain situation or objects. The example is any people scared white animals like mouse or snakes and blood or injection. The next is or the last is social anxiety disorders. The people who have this type might feel judging or judge to their self, so the people feel judging even there is nothing trigger to their self or ourself. Maybe that it's all, and the next is closing, and the closing is will be bring by Bayu, Heri, Permana.
Thank you, Rizky Budiansyah. Here I am going to conclude of how students speaking problems are related to each other. So, the demand of speaking fluently is high rather than other language skills, although the others cannot be underestimated as well. In this era, English has become the international language used in business, technological, and academic communication. This trend of English globalization as a worldwide phenomenon makes it necessary to communicate with people from different linguistic and cultural backgrounds and in a variety of settings, such as public speaking for students. Nowadays, the majority of English users can be found in countries where the language is employed as a foreign or second language. So now we are going to talk about public speaking and its problem. Public speaking is a way to talk with individual or group of listeners with sharing ideas and influencing them either direct or via electronic communication to achieve a specific goal. Now, public speaking and its problem to students. When students speak, they construct ideas in words, express their perception, their feelings, and their intention, so that the audiences grasps the meaning of what the students mean. Here, the process seems very complicated since the students do not merely produce words without any meaning, but they do intentionally to represent their intention. So, uh, language is a very essential instrument that enables students to state their existence and others. The common example is like ask something, express agreement, and refusal. For this reason, speaking is regarded as a principle. So, considering that problems of students public speaking in speech caused by the factors derive from linguistic aspect to non-linguistic aspect to students anxiety, awareness might be the first thing that the students have to realize. We mostly use language to in order to communicate. Spoken language, meanwhile, may not always be used to communicate entirely, so communication may be possible without necessarily using spoken language. Now, here is the interesting point. The interesting point students should understand is that even linguistic aspects is accompanied by certain elements of non-linguistic aspect and their self-confidence. It is because the linguistics aspect, the non-linguistic aspect, and students' anxiety, or we can say self-confidence, are related to each other. Students' linguistic aspects such as vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation key is the tone, the manner or spirit in which the speech is performed. Some examples: the students use some gestures to help them to offer their ideas. The students said will think and got their ideas back. The students agreed that if they practice more, they had good confidence when speaking. The students tried to not focus on seeing the audience or listener when they speaking performance. The students agreed that place could be influence their confidence. Now, the students should gain awareness that speaking problems are common problems in a foreign language learning. They might realize that others may likely share the same problems in their speaking activity. Now, in order to speak well, the students should practice their ability in many ways. Meanwhile, we can't argue that students also dealing with anxiety disorder, in which is characterized by a marked fear in a variety of performance and or interactional situations. This has a profound negative impact on students' quality of life, affecting social functioning, family life, and their relationship and their skills, their especially their language skills. All of students' public speaking problems wasn't because they did not have English language skill, but they were not aware of their own self-efficacy. Most of them felt a little apprehension to speak English in front of people. Therefore, they had a negative perception of their mind. Uh, the students feel fear of making mistakes, fear of embarrassed, fear of being loved, always thinking and self-conscious. So, assuming all audiences are friends, try to be confident, pray that they are calm, change the mindset of I can continue to try and not become burden are the way to anticipate their anxiety when public speaking. Students' belief on their capability either positively or negatively affects their willingness to speak. Self-efficacy can determine how students feel, think, and behave, as well as the choices to they make in specific situations, such as the scenario of performing a public speaking speech. However, reflecting to the result of students' performance, it is influenced by students' preparation as well. Students' awareness might be the first thing that students have to realize. They should aware that preparation is needed by all of the students in delivering the speech. It is because, of course, to make them feel comfortable and confident when they deliver the speech. So that is how linguistic aspect, how students' public speaking problems are related to each other. Start with students' linguistic aspect to student non-linguistic aspect to students' anxiety, and the last to student self-efficacy. So that is what my group present. So thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.